Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. Wait, no, it's Monday. Welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, July 27th, 2020. July is almost at an end, which you guys all know what that means. It's a new Step Back video coming out on Friday, if that's what you're excited about. If this is your first time here and you have no idea who this weird rando is, yeah, let's talk about, let's go quickly through who I am. My name is Tristan Johnson. I'm the host of the YouTube channel Step Back History, a history YouTube channel so you don't have to. I stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Monday I do a show, which is what you're watching right now, called the Monday Discourse, which runs from 12 to 2. If it is 12 right now, think about the timing. 12 Eastern Time. Tuesdays, I go from 7 to 10. We have an evening show called Step Back Tonight, where it's a little bit more chill, a little bit more fun and games, and the actual games. There's Jackbox sometimes. And then on the Fridays from 2 to 5, I do the Reactor, where I react to content submitted to me by viewers. That will not be happening this Friday, though, because a new Step Back video will be out. So you will be excitedly consuming new Tristan content on Step Back History. So there's that. I know because I filmed it over the weekend and nearly died. So that's fun. I go by he, him pronouns. My work can be found at stepbackhistory.com or TristanPEJ on Twitter. For everybody on Twitch, I always have to say that if you have Amazon Prime, because you wanted to catch Season 4 of The Expanse, which I just started watching, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription with your membership. And if you don't use it every month, Jeff Bezos just gets to keep that money, and we learned that he makes $15 billion a day. So take some money away from Jeff Bezos and put it in the hands of an independent Twitch creator that you like. If that happens to be Step Back History, all the better. And, you would help with paying rent and feeding kitties. So it all helps. My latest video, the one that I made, came out a month ago, which was on apartheid. Good video, very fun. I mean, not fun, it's very dark. But I would say that my next video, which is on the history of Puerto Rico, comes out on Friday. So be excited for new Step Back content. And besides that, I guess it's time that we get started. And I'm going to go grab the Queen of the North and get her in here. Just move my water bottle over here so I have a bit more space, and then let the call begin.
Hello.
Hello. You're right now spinning squares, but
I don't intend to be spinning squares. There we go. Hello.
Hello. You made it.
I am no longer a spinning square.
So, first,
hi.
Hello. Who are you?
Hi, my name is Mia Mulder. I am a YouTube content creator on the internet who does history-oriented content, or history-inspired content, I guess. I do a lot of left tubes, whatever that term means anymore. It's a meaningless term, but still, that's what I do. I do that sort of stuff. I'm working on my current video too, which came out, my last video came out 2 months ago, so I am feeling the pressure.
Yep, I just passed the point today where the analytics, it's been 28 days since my last video, and the analytics, what did you do?
Yes. If you don't know, as a viewer, YouTube analytics only goes by 28 days, like 28 days is a month, according to...
By default.
Yeah, by default. So if you go 28 days without making a video, it thinks you have died. It thinks that you have never made content ever, and it starts screaming at you to please produce content again.
It needs you. Yeah, so it starts saying like, hey, your views and subscribers went down by like 15% since the last period of 28 days, which had a video come out in it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a poorly designed system. The analytics system isn't really made for people who make videos less often than once a week, because that's kind of how analytics really is built on people who like make content every day or every week, not really every month.
Oh boy, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I don't look at analytics anymore. I tried to tune that out as much as I can.
It's a good.
It is a cursed concept.
It's a good philosophy. I have so much fun stuff to talk about with you right now, TV-wise,
really?
Specifically.
What wise?
TV-wise.
Oh, have you? Why? Have you been watching Star Trek?
Yeah. Well, Kelly and I just finished Deep Space Nine. I mean, I had watched it before, but she had never seen it before. So we just watched What You Left Behind, Part 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. The most saddest episode of TV.
I barely remember it. It was so long ago since I watched it. Is that when he goes into the wormhole and becomes a ghost?
Yeah, he becomes. Yeah. He says, "I have to go learn how to be a prophet now." Bye. And then she's like, "But what about our baby? Couldn't you learn to be a prophet on the weekends and stay here during the week?" And he's like, "No.
No.
Can't
Must be a full-time space worm ghost."
Yeah, and also a new season of Norseman came out.
Yes, it has. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw that on Netflix that like new episodes of Norseman is out, and I knew that you would be happy about that.
Yeah, there's a it starts with a wedding where they do at the wedding something called a blut, where they sacrifice a slave.
Yeah.
And they both the husband and the wife hold the knife like they're cutting the cake to cut open the slave for the blood, and then like spill all of his guts and blood into a bowl, and then take like 2 thumbs and just like tiny little bit on the forehead, and that's it. They're done. So it's very much. If you ever want to watch a show that's like, what if you ever wondered what would The Office be like if it took place in Norway during Viking times, it's basically what this is.
Yeah. God, yeah, that's true. It is. It really is like The Office.
And they also
such a good show.
The thing about the show is that it's also not subtitled, it's not dubbed, but they film the entire show in English and Norwegian.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, they do the entire show. All the actors are bilingual, and they all film the show entirely in English and Norwegian.
So, wait, so how does that work? So, like, depending on the language you choose, you get, like, a different scene?
I guess, like, they just, like, when they're filming the show, they're like, we're going to do this scene. This is the English version of this scene and the Norwegian version of this scene.
That's wild. Holy shit.
But what it means is you always get to hear the Norwegian accents.
Which is so wonderful. It's a very wonderful Nordic accent that us Scandinavians have when we try to speak English. Especially if you're not a fluent speaker.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's very nice.
And also, there's another goof is they're celebrating the fact that they're back on, that they're now a Netflix original series.
Oh,
where there's
that's good, I guess.
Where there's a bit of a plot point about a baby with a tattoo of an N put on its back, and they find out the person who has it, and then they look and it's actually like the Netflix logo tattooed on their back.
God, that's stupid.
Yeah, that's Joe. That is, and Kelly has been meaning to get me to ask you about this, and that is like, is this a particularly weird show, or is this just emblematic of Scandinavian humor?
It's very emblematic of Scandinavian humor.
Okay.
So there's a similar kind of show in Sweden, which is it's like takes place in the foreign relations department of the government, but it's also like very much like The Office, very much like incompetent people doing significant things. That's pretty common in like Swedish comedy, or like Nordic comedy, I suppose.
I guess the juxtaposition of like Vikings and current Nordic culture is a bit of a good joke.
Yeah, I think so too. And apparently it's seen like international success with the Norsemen, so I think that's probably going to keep going for a while.
And awkward comedy, that's like a thing.
What'd you say?
Like awkward comedy?
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like that's also a big part of like European humor.
That's true.
Well, I feel like we get a lot of influence from like British comedy, from that the kind of cringe comedy, where you watch something and you just go like, what the fuck?
The other weird thing about this season is that it's a prequel.
Oh, really?
It's a prequel season, so a lot of people who are dead are back, and it has sort of the origin story of a bunch of things.
Well, that's cool.
But what it also means is that they set up a lot of jokes that, if you watch the show closely and have a weird encyclopedic memory of TV like I do, it sets up a lot of funny jokes.
Nice.
But
I'll have to binge it.
Yeah, but I just love stuff like, any of you feeling like being bloated? And they're like, what is that? It's where, like, they cut you open and they spill your guts on the floor in order to bless the marriage. Just like how they're like, they're talking about the blood eagle, like as if it's like, this like, oh, got to go to the blood eagle.
Yeah. It's like boorish event, like, ugh.
Yeah, or the Attestup. The first episode features something called the Attestup.
Oh yeah, I think isn't that like in season 1 or something?
Yeah, it's the first episode. The Attestup, where they, which is where they apparently just killed old people.
Yeah, like this idea that like old people would throw themselves off of a mountain to because they had become old and not died in battle. This was like the only honorable way to like guarantee an entrance into Valhalla. And all of them stand up there. Like one of them does it and dies horribly, obviously, and all the other old people are just like, no, I don't really think I want to do this actually. I'm just gonna go. Maybe we can do it later.
Yeah,
it's very good.
It is such a good show. I recommend it for everybody.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's my story. That's my big thing. How have you been?
I have been working myself to the bone the last 2 weeks, and I haven't really had time to do much of anything really. I've been rewatching like Orange Is the New Black. Haven't really kept up that much with Discourse, except for knowing that like America is like quickly devolving into like localized fascism. But beyond that, I haven't really kept up with much of anything really. I've been working. I have been working because my next video is currently 2.5 hours long. So I'm
Christ.
Yeah. So I'm editing down, and doing my best to like remake some parts of it so it can be shorter, because I don't want to make The Irishman the video essay.
What's gonna happen is you're gonna make that, and then it's just gonna become like the new standard. And now everyone, because like what's it called? Everyone keeps upping each other on how long they can make videos, and you're just gonna one up it. And now they're gonna be like, all right, well, I guess the next philosophy tube video has to be 2.5 hours.
Has to be, yeah. I'm hoping. I'm sort of expecting it to not really be any more popular than any of my other videos, really. But if this video turns out to like become my first like proper viral video ever or something like that, it becomes the one that like slingshots me into success for some reason, then I'm stuck. Then I'm always gonna have to make these 3-hour long videos. It takes up like a whole day to watch.
Oh, fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure everyone else in the chat is too.
Yeah, but it also means that I haven't really kept up with anything. I don't really know what's happening.
I still haven't been able to crack. I think my longest video is like 40 minutes, maybe. I'm trying to remember what it would have been.
I made one that was 50 minutes once.
Yeah, I think the video I made, the apartheid video was 35 minutes. I think I made an Elizabeth Warren video that was like 40 minutes. That's my longest. Oh, those are beefy. Those are beefy vids.
Yeah. Turns out that editing time also like increases exponentially the longer the video is.
It's true.
Because everything has to work together with everything else.
Or you have to take the same amount of time to do a lazier job. And so I find that once like deeper in the editing process of a longer video, I'm like, oh, fuck it, this part, I can take it. I'm fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need to, what's it called, slice this much here. Okay. I've got the first question I've got.
Yes, my chats are like completely falling apart, so I'm gonna have to rely on you a lot for the questions.
Well, the first question was for me about how is Garfield themed pizza, which I So I have both. So yesterday when I was out filming at a park, and dying because it was with Humidex in the low 40s yesterday. We're in a phase right now where it is low 40s with Humidex, extraordinarily hot, very, very humid, punctuated by these just like intense thunderstorms. So today is thunderstorm day, which is nice. But yesterday I was out and we went to Starbucks, and then across the street was Garfield Eats. So I have now seen Garfield Eats. I purchased a mask from Garfield Eats because it looked horrific. And I wanted to see if I could get a picture of the bag of sand that Quentin ordered.
Oh yeah, I heard about the bag of sand.
Yeah.
The plushie.
Oh, now I'm reminded what the discourse was in the last week, which is cancel culture is continuing, but now Glenn Greenwald and Matt Taibbi are like legit like mad about cancel. They've basically both done like the most expected heel turns in internet history. So
I don't know who these people are.
Glenn Greenwald is the guy who they both work. Glenn Greenwald runs The Intercept, probably one of the most well-paid journalists on earth. He's the one who broke the story of Edward Snowden, but also was like kind of in. He's one of those leftists who was pretty into Tulsi Gabbard, and is now talking about cancel culture a lot. And he's had Tucker Carlson on his show to interview him. He's like, we have like the left has a lot to learn from Tucker Carlson. And it's like, oh god.
Yeah.
But back on Garfield Eats. So I both have been inside a Garfield Eats now, but also about a year ago or so, we actually ate Garfield Eats because it used to have it's in Toronto too. And so
it's a chain?
It's a chain of two. One in Toronto and one in London, Ontario. So it just happens to be the two cities that I've lived in the last like decade.
That's why you moved to London, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's one of them. But first of all, it's uncanny. It looks like it's photoshopped on reality.
Yeah, it doesn't look real at all. Mm-hmm. Even in your video that you made specifically for me, it doesn't look real.
Yeah. And because we were playing D&D and we had Thought Slime Matt in our group, at some point, because like when he had first discovered Garfield Eats, like long before he made the video, and he was obsessed, he had to show it to us. And so we've developed two completely independent meme cultures of like Garfield Eats jokes based on our Discord server of like the 7 people in this D&D group. And then he made the video and the Garfield Eats based humor that's been based on his like fans and YouTube channel. But so at some point we had to actually order Garfield Eats. Like it was finally open. We could finally eat Garfield Eats. So we ate Garfield Eats. And first of all, it was a real pain in the ass to get a vegan pizza for Matt. That was a whole thing. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't have the concept of like, can we have a pizza but with no cheese on it?
They can't understand that at all.
No, so we had to actually like call them up and order the pizza, and you're like, all right, this order number, this pizza that's on there, don't put cheese on that. So it showed up, and the sauce is orange. The pizza sauce is orange. And something tastes...
It's not supposed to be orange.
No, and then when you're eating the pizza, it has sort of like... You know that taste that Parmesan cheese has where like you're like almost not sure if it's gone bad?
Yeah.
It had that like in the sauce thoroughly. And we were like, oh boy. Sure is a lot of... This is sort of odd feeling. About 20 minutes later, everyone started getting extremely ill. Like, our stomachs started, like, actively hurting, and people were, like, lying on the floor, and, like... We were like, no. This is bad, this is bad. We had to end the session early because everybody was just, like, feeling really sick. Even the person who had no cheese on his pizza. And, like... One of the people in our group is a chef, and he was like inspecting it, and he was like, this is like literally like parts of this dough are undercooked and some of it is overcooked, so they had the oven too hot, and like and so I had these videos and I tweeted it at Garfield Eats, and I got blocked, so I'm blocked by Garfield Eats on Twitter.
Oh my god.
So I have both eaten Garfield Eats and their cursed pizza, and I have now seen it in person. It is real. It is horrifying.
Oh my god. Why? Why though?
Oh, and also the pizza was extremely overpriced.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Because it's Garfield branded.
Yeah, and I kept the boxes that we got that pizza in for months because I had to use it in the D&D video. If you remember in the D&D video, there's Garfield Eats pizza boxes, and so we kept them for that purpose.
Good lord, Tristan. Good god. I can't believe this.
So, Garfield Eats. Good and...
It's not real. I refuse to recognize the existence of the chain of Garfield Eats. I can't.
Blessed in theory. And look who's here.
Oh,
We have a visitor. Can we get some
talking
things
about
in
pizza
chat
too
for
much.
Twitch? Oh, she's being cutie. All right. I was worried because like she wanted so much attention earlier today, and then very quickly, like right as the stream was about to start, took off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's see. I wish I was a spinning square. There you go.
I mean, we all do in the end, don't we?
Okay, so this is a question that was supposed to come up last week, and I had no answer for it because obviously I couldn't, because it's a question about being transgender. So, and this is interesting because I think this comes up in a lot of discourse, especially like in trans community, like trans circles themselves. And that is residual misogyny or residual gender stuff, like misogyny and like expectations and stuff that comes from socialization pre-transition. So like, you know, the idea of like in like our society, men tend to talk over women, and like those kinds of like little things that you're socialized into. Does that how like, is there like a how do I get through that? Like, how does it like that kind of like bleed through after transition? Do you notice it? If it like, what's it like seeing both sides of misogyny is also another thing.
Yeah, I think initially, like early on in a person's transition, I think that's when there's like the most bleed over. But I noticed like extremely early in my transition, when I was still in uni, like before like any of my hormones had done any effect, before I even like made an effort, whatever the fuck that means. But like, you know, I didn't give the impression of a woman, so to say. Now it's a bit better, but we're not going to go into that. But like, the point is that early on I didn't at all, and then I feel like I feel like that was so recent. I would still kind of display things that I kind of had learned for granted. But I also noticed that despite all of these things, and despite being trans, and despite being like visibly trans, I also noticed that like the men in my seminar classes and my professors and everything, they would have like an instantly different attitude towards what I did and what I said, and my work. So the example of like men typically speaking over women initially, I feel like my own socialization kind of instantly disappeared because the men around me would start speaking over me. So you kind of, because there's not like a huge trans culture in mainstream society that can kind of enforce its own socialization, you kind of are bogged into a new sort of socialization initially, because you don't really have like the social framework to maintain it, if that makes sense. So like,
the culture kind of imposes it on you.
Yeah, very much so. I feel like early on in my transition, I would feel like I would speak over women occasionally. Like, I feel like when I lived as a man, and I feel like a lot of people who live as men also do that, even with their best intentions, obviously, because we live in a society that does that. So like very early on, but I feel like that sort of, I feel like society very quickly imposes like gendered socialization upon people, like very quickly, and I feel like that weighs a lot harder than sort of the leftover that you may have had before, because yeah, I don't really know. I feel like
that makes sense. Like the idea of like, I guess like you get firsthand experience of gender being a performance then.
Yeah, and like it's an active performance. Like, it's not, I would say that I would say that the way society like treats you based on even based on like the most basic level of gendered performance, that impacts you and shapes you far more than the performance itself does. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like
and for now we still live in a society, and
we do.
Yeah, I know I say that a lot, but like I feel like that's the most reasonable explanation that I have.
That must be quite an experience to have like people that you knew before and after transition that like treat you differently based on that. That must be a jarring experience.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I remember like studying history for almost a full year before my transition. And like getting to know people, like getting to know my professors and everything, and like you build a rapport pretty quickly. And I noticed like even in the initial like months after having come out, that like there's a very different dynamic that kind of affects the way that I would like have to operate around in the world. Like I would have to I feel like ideas that were presented were less respected. Probably the most common example would be like you saying an idea and no one listening to it, and then 2 minutes later like some frat guy 2 seats over says the exact same idea, and everyone like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and it's like, bitch, that's what I said.
So what you're saying is your ideas are taken less seriously.
I mean, as for an example, and like I feel like a lot of patriarchal ideas express themselves so vividly in so many different parts of society that it becomes ingrained in kind of everything. And I feel like that quickly shapes how the way you operate in the world and the way you kind of maneuver those kinds of spaces. And I feel like that hits so much heavier than leftover socialization from childhood.
Interesting. Oh no, your squares again.
Oh no, hang on. There we go.
Oh boy. Well, like yeah, that's. I always like thought that was because when I had one of my roommates came out as trans while we were living together, and it was that was like one of the number one things I was curious about was what's that experience like of like I said, seeing both sides of our highly gendered society and interacting with the same things in different ways that a lot of cis people don't have the ability to get that kind of insight because you don't see what both sides are like. But it's interesting that and it makes a lot of sense that it's sort of something that that comes from the outside in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I feel like that's a large part of it. More than it comes like internally. Like we're all individuals who operate around the world, obviously, but I feel like we're very shaped by our surroundings, for good and bad.
Yeah, I can imagine that also opens up a lot of social spaces too, and a lot of conversations that wouldn't happen otherwise.
Oh yeah, and I feel like that's one of the benefits of transitioning is that like you open up sort of social spaces that previously weren't as understandable, but now like it explains a lot of stuff basically. And it makes it easier to maneuver society, even if it also causes a lot of hindrance due to like transphobia and stuff like that. But it's a weird, delicate balance, I guess, which is why some people decide not to transition at all because they don't feel like the balance is worth it.
Yeah, I think that like I'm trying to. Yeah, because like I imagine that transition can be difficult in different ways when you are stepping up or down on the sort of gender power hierarchy. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a lot of, I feel like a lot of these ideas also don't fully map very well onto like trans existence. So I mean, I think the idea of like privilege in general as being a sort of lifelong thing, I don't think that maps super well onto the experience of like trans people in general. I feel like there's a lot of like very established feminist theory ideas that don't fully map that well over like trans existences. But I feel like we're getting a bit more into, we're getting better explanations for how things work. But I lost my train of thought.
Hope I'm not veering into uncomfortable territory.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just I don't think I have fully articulated some of these ideas in my head, really.
I feel like
a lot of this comes up very early in people's transitions. I feel like these are ideas I grappled with a lot like in 2013 and 2014. So it's been a while since I actually like had to think about it. But yeah, I feel like I should codify a bit more about my ideas around it.
Sounds like a video. Sounds like a good
one. But then I have to make a video.
True. Sounds like a Medium post.
I don't want to make content. Are you kidding me? I'm a YouTuber. I don't want to make content.
Just feels like there's a great academic article in there somewhere.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely something I feel like worth exploring, and I feel like a lot of people probably have. I'm not super sure if I'm the best person to kind of to talk about that. I feel like someone who studied like gender studies and gender theory would probably be a bit more well suited for that.
Fair enough. Someone asked what's Kat's name. This is Phoebe. She's being very cute today. Okay, how should we treat scabs? If everyone in the bread factory goes on strike because their wages have been cut, but like one guy is sorry, I've got kids to feed, how should the other workers treat him?
I mean, let them know that support for their kids can come via the union and via the strike. It's better long term for their kids if the strike is upheld.
Yeah. There's too much like in many ways. I always feel like when I don't even know how to. This is a complex thing in a lot of situations because like, yeah, I agree. Scabs fairly often. This isn't technically scabs. Scabs are like when people go on strike and they just hire new people to keep working.
Yeah.
But I can see. Like, yeah, it is advancing your own interests at the expense of the overall project, which is, like, not great. I will say that it's made even more complex in American context because a lot of times when people went on strike, that was the first time that they would then hire a bunch of black employees. And so you had a bunch of white unionized people going on strike, and then they would hire a bunch of non-union black scabs, and it would cause a racism to happen.
Damn.
And that happened a lot in early American labor history.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
This is why like reducing it to your sort of traditional labor politics can sometimes be complicated.
Yeah, it's a bit like this is a complicated issue.
Yeah.
I mean, generally striking for better conditions is like good for everyone. So, working on like as a union, working on like community support for the strike, I feel like is very important. Because if you can do that, then they won't be able to hire new people anyway.
Yeah, the threat of a strike is really like the only thing that unions have as like their ultimate weapon that can actually coerce a boss to do the thing that they want.
Yeah.
And this is like part of the reason that I'm like worried about stuff like UBI, because like if UBI gets put in place, then you know that like laws are going to get incentivated into a direction where it's going to be much easier to just like fire people or hire people temporarily or something like that, which means that like going on strike will definitely become less effective, which worries me.
Yeah. It leads into this idea where it's kind of like a bribe to a lot of working class people that like a UBI would sort of like ensure the bare minimum requirements for sustainability, while everyone else, while the rich people can continue to live like emperors, basically.
Yeah, so turns out labor is difficult. That's but I'm also learning that like unions really, this is going to make me sound like such a anarcho-syndicalist, but it's like unions are really, as like, you know, the 2020 primaries have at least shown me, that they're the only form of political power that people who are not wealthy have. It's the only way that they can actually, like, voting doesn't really affect policy because they'll just, they just, like, elections are a joke for the most part. Like, you can't really affect political parties. They're designed to funnel power directly to wealthy people. That, like, really, unions are the only real place where workers can express any form of agency. And
yeah,
therefore, these technological developments that are going to lead to the weakening of labor, because human labor might just not be necessary in the not too distant future, that like that's going to lead to the loss of what little political power non-wealthy people have left, which is nervousness. I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah, I feel like making a video on UBI would be a very like lucrative video idea for some theory like oriented YouTuber such as us.
Yeah, there's definitely like the potential political economy of UBI or something like that.
Yeah.
I have a long-term plan to start a second channel, and I have my first video on that channel is in production. I'm researching for it now. I had to read, and it's hard because I'm reading Noam Chomsky during the time when Chomsky approval rating is at an all-time low.
Oh no. I mean, reading Chomsky generally, I feel like it's a bit of a bore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading.
That's my opinion.
This is manufacturing consent, so at least it's like one of the classics.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones. I don't really care for Chomsky's literature that much, if I'm honest.
Fair. I mean, he writes a lot.
That's just me.
He is a high-level poster in the books department.
Yeah. Advanced content creator.
Yeah, he's like written over 100 books, which means that on average he has written over one book a year. Because he's 91, so like, man, he is, like I said, high-level poster.
God damn.
I didn't even know until relatively recently that high-level poster is a derisive term and not like I thought high-level poster meant somebody who was very funny, but it's just somebody who posts a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like it can mean all sorts of things, really. I feel like it can mean that, but I also feel like it can be not just quantity, but also like complexity.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like those are maybe the same thing, because people who post a lot also post like incomprehensibly. I'm thinking of people on Twitter who post too much.
There's some people who said that H.P. Lovecraft, if he was alive, he would be a high-level poster.
Yes.
Because he's like...
Oh my god.
He spent his entire life... Because didn't he spend his entire life, like, basically just in, like, multiple correspondences with, like, random letters to the editor and, like, other people just talking, like, disregard modernity, embrace tradition type stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, this is another thing that was fun. Last week, I divulged the history secret to everybody, which is that historians don't really do Greece and Rome and Egypt because there's the classics department,
Yeah.
and that classicists are like their own weird off branch of history.
Yeah, they're all cult. Yeah.
And like to the point where like at many universities, at least in English universities, they're their own departments.
Oh yeah.
And then someone asked if there are left-wing classicists. And I said there are some, but they like I would say that on the whole they tend to be a bit more conservative than historians.
Yeah, I feel like that too. I can't really think of high level like socialist ancient Greek like analysts.
But I know some classicists who are like one example that comes to mind is there was this one woman who wrote a classicist who wrote a whole article about how the far right are misusing the
like Roman
Roman
statues.
yeah, or Greco-Roman like symbols and stuff in general.
Mm. I remember reading something like that too.
And one of
That's true.
And I have a friend who's a classicist who's part of the 2-person channel Alliterative, and I don't know if she's a socialist, but she's definitely very left of center. So they exist.
Nice.
Just that like my experience firsthand with classics departments is that every professor is a white man who is not only over the age of 50, but usually over the age of 80.
Yeah. At my university, it was all history anyway. Like even like Roman and Greek ones, but all of our professors were like basically classicists, and it was a very intense, like some very intense lectures. I just remember.
Classics having its own department feels like something that only happens at like British universities, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like I think it has happened here, but I think eventually someone realized that like, hey, maybe they should just study. Maybe they should just be the same thing. The only reason the classics department is like its own thing is because that was what university was like for a long time, like studying Roman philosophers and Greek philosophers and learning about the Romans and the Greeks, and that was university. That's what you did.
All university students is learn the Greek, study Caesar,
read Latin,
read Iliad and lie.
Defenestrate and lie. Yeah.
So what I meant was you can study classics and publish works on the subject that has a left-wing bent, i.e., like you do with modern history. I've always thought of classics as a fundamentally right-wing subject because half of the Tory MPs in the UK have degrees in it. Yeah. It's because, like, as Mia pointed out, that, like, olden times, classics that's what university was. Back in the time when science was just natural philosophy. You went to school, you studied Greek, you studied Rome, you studied Latin, you studied ancient Greek, and they're like, all right, you now know all the things you need to know. You have studied all the things. Go forth.
That's all you need to know, really.
Yeah. And that tradition, I think, followed up in a lot of British universities and probably British-inspired universities like, say, Canadian universities like mine today. And it's so old school in that sense. Because I remember that. I don't think my grad school had a classics department, but my undergrad did. And my undergrad school was, now it's all coming together. My undergrad school secularized in the 60s, and before that it was an Anglican religious school. And one of 3 English universities in the entire province of Quebec. So I'm starting to piece together a picture here.
Yeah, I also feel like one of the big reasons a lot of like Tory MPs and stuff studied it is because as you say, it's a bit old timey, and I feel like it's a lot of like prestige associated with it now.
Yeah, rich people like who want to be fancy and go to finishing school, you know.
Yeah.
bad people that we don't like. We're not fans. We do not stand.
Not stand. We do not stand the Tories.
I just want to thank Rafael Trigo, Arekcast Gray, and Plartball. Probably a great term, Plartball. Thank you all for following. Plartball. Plartball Markup.
I want to play. I was gonna say I want to play Plartball.
Plartball does sound like a sport from like Futurama or something, like Blurnsball.
Yeah. Oh God, Futurama, good job.
When Elizabeth Warren refused to drop out to help Bernie, a lot of people accused her of selfishly refusing to do what's best for the progressive movement. Bernie refused to endorse Warren for VP, and I saw a lot of the very same progressives supporting that choice, even though she's the most progressive potential VP. Is that hypocrisy?
Wait, has Warren been confirmed to be Biden's VP?
No. It's like people are thinking that the most likely choice is going to be Sergeant Harris, but...
But why would people endorse anyone for VP before they have one? There's not a candidacy. There's not like another primary for the VP slot. Like he just picks one.
Yeah.
Right?
But I guess you're saying that like that people aren't in like saying that Elizabeth Warren should be VP.
Yeah, I think some people were. I don't think the situation translates well, because on one end there is like the current primary people are actually going out to vote. Endorsements mean like a lot because it means like when people are dropping out or like when they know that they're not going to win, who they endorse is like where the majority of their voter base is going to go to. So but the VP slot, I don't think that translates. Like Bernie not endorsing Warren for VP slot doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change anything because no one's gonna vote for her. Like Biden's just gonna pick one, and I don't think Biden gives a shit about whether or not Bernie endorses her or not.
Yeah.
So I don't think it translates super well because like the endorsement here is only for like for aesthetics. It's not really. It wouldn't really change anything. It wouldn't like shift the votes. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still probably one of the more progressive slots, progressive people to become VP, and I would prefer Warren over Harris, but I don't think the situation translates well.
Mm-hmm. Plus, very quickly it looked like it was like he was looking like he was going to choose Amy Klobuchar, but then Amy Klobuchar went down in flames because all of the shit that went down in Minnesota. So this seems like where he's at now. And that Amy Klobuchar said on TV that like, oh, the VP should be a woman of color just to kill Elizabeth Warren. Keep in mind also that Elizabeth Warren just absolutely torched a lot of her cred in progressive circles during the presidential run by backtracking on Medicare for all and
didn't she also kind of backtrack a little bit on abolishing ICE too?
I don't know much about that. I know that she backed down on Medicare for all. Rachel Dolezal as a Native American, and I think the thing that hit me the most was just going to war against Bernie instead of attacking the right. But
yeah, trying to become the progressive rather than promoting the progressive. I mean, also Bernie also. No, that's not true. Bernie went after Mayor Pete more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've forgotten a lot of the. God, remember the primaries?
Yeah, a million years ago, and by a million years ago, I mean 5 months ago was the Nevada caucus where our greatest moment.
Oh my God, it's so recent, but also so long ago. How long is it until the election now?
It's
three months?
4 months. Actually, 3 months. Yeah, closer to 3 months.
Oh my God!
You want to know something that made the time warp of 2020 really hit me?
What?
Last week, a little bit of discourse that you did miss was that Bigger Than Before had its birthday. So Bigger Than Before turned a year old. It's only been 1 year since Bigger Than Before. which, like, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it was a Twitter meme where this incomprehensible 5-minute crafts that is just full of, like, not only is the craft weird, which was like, put an egg in vinegar for a day so that the shell dissolves, then put it in maple syrup for a day, then put blue dye on it, and then you just have this bigger than before egg that is blue. But, like, everything surrounding that, like, why are you doing this? Why does it just keep saying bigger than before? And then a lady just sticks her hand in a cup full of maple syrup, and, like, the video is just full of so much incomprehensible weirdness that it became a blessed meme. But that was only a year ago, which makes me think that, like, oh god, my Shinto video was only a year ago, and I'm like, that video's been around forever.
See, I'm kind of in the reverse, because I was like, it's already been a year, because I thought that for me, bigger than before was like 3 months ago in my head. I'm convinced that 2020 is, like, completely time fucked for everyone.
It's true. I definitely look like I'm about 10 years older than I was in July of 2019.
Oh god. Oh, I've been rewatching some of my older videos for patrons, and, like, videos from, like, a year ago, and it's like, I look like a teenager, like this babby. Yeah. Holy shit. Time is fucked, Tristan.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm learning.
We need Einstein to become president so he can go back in time and fix everything.
He can finish the chronosphere and eliminate Hitler, which is really when everything started going bad.
God.
I love that Red Alert 2 memes are coming back in a way. Like, it became a meme for a little bit. Tim Curry playing the Soviet premier, and there's a part where he's like, "The only place where capitalism hasn't ruined it, in space." You can tell that he's breaking.
He's like falling apart. He can't keep it. It's so good.
Okay.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space.
Red Alert was great. Red Alert 2, when they realized that it was a meme, got a lot better. And Red Alert 3, they went a bit too far. But Red Alert 2 is a perfect mix of authentic and just pure memery.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so the next question we got here is about gift economies. So we can go from memeing about Red Alert 2 to gift economies. Do you think that eventually we could have the gift/reuse economy supplant huge supply chains like shopping malls and thrift stores and DIY repairs, and we only buy new things when we really need to? So could we have an economy where fixing things and giving things away once we're done using them are normalized?
I don't think that we would ever reach a societal point where a sort of gifting thing would become the norm. I think that could be part of it, but I don't think it would be the norm. I think that if we reach a point where, like planned obsolescence is no longer a thing, things last way longer, things are, like, more usable, stuff like that, and we only buy stuff when we need it, I think there's going to be a bit more focus on, like, buying used goods, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, free stores and stuff like that. That's a big anarchist thing.
What'd you say?
In a lot of anarchist, like, communes and stuff like that, they'll have what's called the free store, where you drop off things that work but you don't need them anymore, and then you can grab stuff from there if you want it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's basically the gift economy with extra steps, and I think that's way more, like, practical or, like, plausible. Yeah, I still think that we would still have, like, supermarkets and, like, big stores and malls and everything, but, you know, I would hope that eventually we would make things that last longer and therefore contribute far less waste, and we could just you know, reuse or kind of gift that on I would bet that recycling or reusing would become more popular instead of this. But I can see it.
Yeah, I could see that. Like the thing about our culture, maybe it's like a superstructure thing, or kind of gets into our talk about social roles and stuff like that, which is that we do have like a sort of superstructure or economy or like culture built up around our economy that because our economy makes everything planned obsolescent and disposable, that we sort of have this cultural predilection to liking new things, and that maybe like in a few like if we, maybe like part of like having a gift economy will be once we get into that and normalize that like repairing things and things that have been well loved and well repaired and that are in good condition and stuff like that are like more desirable because like we no longer do like iPhones that like I hate the fact that I have a cell phone that cost me way too much money, and now it's been 2 years and I have to get a new one because the battery doesn't really work anymore, and it's like ugh.
And I even remember it wasn't that long ago too when you could like pop off the back of your phone and like replace the battery. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah. So I would love if like we could move to a world where things were built to last, and I feel like in a true Marxist sense that that our culture would sort of adapt to service that. Yeah. Resistance is futile.
I'm thinking of like the cars in the former Soviet Union that still run around because they built those things to fucking last.
Yeah, Cuba too. Cuba, they still drive like cars from the 1950s that have just been repaired and re-repaired and re-repaired over and over again.
Yeah, because they still like make the parts because they made them to be repaired. Whereas here, if you buy a car from 2011, you're gonna struggle for parts.
Well, if you have like a car from like 2003, it's still going somehow.
Yeah.
Just can't wait to see how great and how good for the environment and also good for society that all of those Tesla cars are going to be.
Oh my god, they're gonna last like 4 years at the most.
Yeah, especially because they just keep. First of all, he can't design a car that doesn't just like kill its drivers. Just like he can't. What's it called? They can't make a rocket that doesn't blow up. Oh yes, that's a discourse you missed. Very important discourse. Sorry, this just like came to mind instantly. Elon Musk tweeted a bunch of stupid shit about being pro-imperialism.
Yes.
But then he started just going on like sort of a reactionary rant. And one of the things he said was, I hate pronouns. And then he got a reply from Grimes, his girlfriend and father or like a daughter or mother of his weird named child, his poor abused baby AX12 69420 or whatever. And she's just like, I love you, but this is like hateful. This is not in your heart. You should call me right now. And like this like was on Twitter publicly.
Yeah. Apparently she deleted the tweet, or it's because I couldn't find it. So either it's deleted, but I haven't seen anyone say it was fake. So I'm guessing it was real.
Oh, it's most definitely real. Oh,
damn. The only thing I saw about him was when he tweeted out something about the coup in Bolivia, talking about like we'll coup whoever we want, whenever we want, like as a joke, but also like, what? Why would you joke about that? You have like 14 million followers on Twitter. Like, why would you joke about that?
Oh yeah, so that was a discourse.
He's so weird. How is he rich? Like this is not how meritocracy is supposed to work.
It's because his family owned an emerald mine, and he is one of the 3 people who was like, "What if money but internet?" And then became a billionaire.
Yeah. Oh, that's. Oh God, I hate that so much though. Because isn't he like, he's like registered as a founder of Tesla,
PayPal,
or SpaceX.
PayPal is a thing.
But I don't think he was actually part of one of these. I don't remember which one. He didn't actually found. Like he has the name founder, but he is not actually a founder. Like he bought the title of founder, and like put it in a contract, for the actual founders, like they weren't allowed to call themselves founders anymore. Like he bought the title of founder, and it was either for like PayPal or Tesla. People saying it's Tesla. That makes sense. That's wild, because like he builds this brand of his own sort of content, half of which isn't even his, and most of which is like government funded anyway, because the current U.S. government, no matter what party, is like super horny for things that are this kind of like sleek privatized economy that does space and cool cars.
Yeah.
Even though it's not actually economically viable at all.
His superpower, I think, is being able to swindle angel investors. Like, that's his power.
Yeah.
Because he seems to be able to fund any stupid idea that he thinks up.
I think he's really good at like selling nerdy boys at and you know, nerdy girls too. That's I shouldn't discriminate. That's wrong of me. But he, like these kind of like space nerds who really like lithium batteries and want to go to Mars and make like an ANCAP colony.
Actually, I do think that swindling a bunch of stupid billionaire tech bros, that feels very much like, yeah, probably just men. Like, there's not a ton of women in that space.
That's true.
Plus, women are probably less likely to.
Speaking of like super rich women, though, this might have been way more than 2 weeks ago, but I just remember talking about it right now regarding Ghislaine Maxwell, who's like been imprisoned, and was like an associate of Jeffrey Epstein. Didn't like the former CEO of Reddit tweet out something wild about a dinner that also Musk was at? Speaking of Elon Musk.
Yeah, somebody tweeted a picture of him with Ghislaine Maxwell, and then like he denied that the picture. He's like, "This is a Photoshop," and they're like, "No, it's not a Photoshop. Here's a picture of it from like years ago."
Yeah, and I just remember the former CEO of Reddit tweeting something out like, "We know he bought girls for other people here, but we couldn't care at the time because we were busy with other things." And everyone on Twitter was just like, "Wait, you knew? Back in like 2011, you knew? Hang on, you didn't do anything?" And then she locked her Twitter account and hasn't probably opened it up since.
Yeah.
Like, rich people are wild.
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't deserve the wealth that they have.
Donald Trump also said, "I hope Ghislaine Maxwell turns out all right. I hope she's okay. Or I wish her luck," or something like that.
Yeah, he wished her well, which I think a lot of people have honestly maybe put a bit more meaning into it than maybe he meant. Because I feel like I feel that saying wish her well, like that's kind of giving a send off. It's a weird send off to say to a sex offender and a pedophile, but you know, I feel like it's a send off-ish turn rather than an actual well wishing.
Yeah.
But also it's a weird send off because as mentioned, like it is still a well wishing. So
you want some more weirdness that's come out of that case?
Oh God.
The judge on her case
I
had her
heard about
husband and her son were shot, and one of them died. I don't know if the other one died.
No, the husband survived, I think. The son died.
And then on top of that, like somebody else got killed too.
Yeah, and Ghislaine Maxwell is being moved from different prison cells so assassins don't get to her. And apparently the assassin who tried to kill the judge is this like super anti-feminist lawyer who has been on Fox News.
The shooter was killed the next day, or was found dead when they finally traced him down. That was it.
Damn. Like there's so much shady shit with these rich people.
Yeah, I made this whole joke. I wanted to write a skit about like the Three Stooges, except it's the assassins for the royal family, the Clintons, and the CIA, and like they're just like fumbling to try and assassinate Ghislaine Maxwell, like getting stuck in a doorway and like
yeah, like Three Stooges. Yeah. I mean, I'm fully convinced that Ghislaine Maxwell is gonna like we haven't seen the end of the weird shit.
Yeah. I watched the Jeffrey Epstein documentary on Netflix like a couple months ago, and the funniest thing about it that always comes up is like, because they're always like, first of all, Alan Dershowitz just like, I don't even know what kind of levels of double down he is now, but he's just like riding this until the very end. But the funniest thing to me is just like, you can tell the documentary tries to not draw attention to this, but it's just like, wow, oh, there's Bill Clinton again. Hey, oh, Bill Clinton. And you look at the book, and there's like the black book, and it's got like a quick stream, like, wow, that's Bill Clinton's name 2 or 3 times. Like,
and they don't really dwell on it that much. Like, they mention it because I feel like they know that they have to mention it, but they never like dig into it. They just mention it in passing and then move on to like Prince Andrew because everyone already hates Prince Andrew.
Yeah. Although it's like extremely obvious that like you look at it and it's like by sheer volume, Bill Clinton was just there like all the time.
Yeah. God damn.
I was just like,
I'm so worried that all of this is just gonna like blow away because like it's a huge thing. Like this is basically Pizzagate. Like this is basically Pizzagate.
Yeah.
But it's true. And also not as weird.
The Clinton
but I mean, it's hella
family,
weird, but not.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
The Clinton crime family always. The conspiracy theories around the Clinton crime family are always like, I don't know. I think I feel like maybe I don't think Hillary Clinton is like that psychotically evil. But oh, by the way, Matt, thank you for the super chat. Hate to be rude, but there's some questions for y'all in the chat. It was interesting. I wasn't sure if you guys forgot about the chat. True. We haven't forgotten about the chat. What is it called? We got it here. Just that, as we always do on Mondays, get super duper behind, and I think we just have to learn to be happy with that. But I am what's it called? I am using a program that does like. There's this idea that like Twitch and YouTube are like fighting each other. Like Tristan only pays attention to YouTube, or Tristan only pays attention to Twitch, and I'm like, I have both. I have literally a program that meshes them together, so don't worry.
Oh, that's cool. I have to have both chats up. Okay, let's do some questions.
Let's do some questions.
We've become so sidetracked.
You know how a lot of trans people don't experience discrimination until they're adults because most don't start transitioning until they're adults. Is it better to grow up knowing you're a member of an oppressed minority like a person of color, or is it better to suddenly be thrust into having to deal with that as an adult?
Until they're adults, because most people don't start transitioning until they're adults. It's better to grow up knowing you're a member of a person of a minority. Is it better to suddenly thrust into having them? I mean, I think there are aspects to both that I think both are good and bad. The thing is, like, if you grow up knowing that you're part of an oppressed like minority, you're usually born into a community that also is part of that minority. Like, obviously that's not 100% the case, but like if you grow up like while black, you probably grow up like in a black family, in like with black friends. Like, so you're not entirely alone in this. Whereas trans people sometimes, or like LGBT people in general, will can be completely isolated from their own family. So and that's one side of it. But on the other hand, as you say, like if I didn't even realize I was trans until I was like an adult. So I managed to like go through high school. I managed to do all those things. And like while it's not great to have, like in my case, kind of like repressed dysphoria and repressed like internalized ideas about gender and sexuality, that's not great. I wasn't discriminated at the time, which is a positive, but also like you kind of lack that kind of community. So there's no better option here. Like they're very different, but they're not really. It's impossible to say which one is like better than the other.
Sometimes it can be like a hold up. Like I at least the story of my roommate. One of the things that held her back for a long time, even though she was experiencing like some pretty bad dysphoria, was that like she knew that once she made the leap and like went through the like transition and started like dressing in public and everything like that like then you're in for like a whirlwind of shit.
Yeah.
And like that, and that's kind of part of the fear of coming out in all sorts of LGBT spaces. That's why it's like its own like aspect of being LGBTQ plus, right?
So what?
That's like the whole narrative of coming out and like the fear of coming out and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there an accent when Norwegians speak Swedish, or is it similar to like most accents in the U.S. and Canada?
Oh, I think when Norwegians speak Swedish,
Yeah, can you clock their
yeah,
accent?
yeah, there's an accent.
They still
It's not
have
as
the
pronounced. What?
they still have the Norwegian singy lilty accent.
Yeah, it's a bit more like, in my opinion, anyway. I might be wrong, but it's a bit more like muted. Like if you talk with like a hand in front of your mouth, like it sounds a little bit more muted. So it's a bit different, but it's not that bad. The Danish accent is like atrocious, and everyone in Sweden just honestly can't understand it sometimes. Not because of like the words themselves, because if they're spelled out or like spoken very articulately, we get it. But the accent, we don't get it at all.
It's probably also complex. Like the languages are not super dissimilar from each other. Like they're almost mutually intelligible.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which
Same, very. I mean, they evolved from the same kind of language anyway, so they're very similar to each other. I think even way more similar than like Spanish and French and Italian.
So like I can imagine it can be really hard to learn a language that is like almost the same but just like slightly different in weird ways.
Yeah,
I know Norwegian likes to have a few more letters than Swedish, I think.
I think so. But we also have our own funky letters.
So the alternate universe where Bernie is the candidate, what do you think the liberal and right-wing media are saying about him there? Do you think they're trying to straight-facedly claim he won't handle COVID better than Trump?
I feel like a lot of media would be quiet about him. I feel like there would be a lot more people talking about, like, you can see like how some right-wing outlets are talking about like what you see in Portland right now. This is what America will be under Biden. I feel like there would be a lot more of that kind of talk. But I don't think that there would be like that much of a difference, to be honest. I feel like the recent news cycle has been so focused on what a awful person Donald Trump is and how bad he's handling everything. So I think that would still dominate the news cycle.
Yeah, I have a feeling the media is way too antagonistic towards Sanders, that they would like if like say like the Chaz and everything, like all that goes down the same way, that like the media would be like, so what's your answer to Chaz? Bernie Sanders still hasn't spoken out against Chaz yet. Like that kind of stuff I feel like would be part of it. Like I get a feeling that like if Bernie was the candidate, that you would have a media that is antagonistic to both.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking it wouldn't be. Yeah, I think you're right. I think liberal media would be a bit more. I don't think liberal media would care as much. Like there would still be the occasional like weird attack on Bernie, but I don't think people would care. Honestly, I think that Trump is just dominating the news cycle too much.
That's true.
Even if unless Bernie was like super weird about it, which he might be in a good way. I mean.
Yeah, Trump seems to be flaming out pretty hard because his numbers look real bad, and he's like, it's rough.
It's like twice as bad than it was in 2016.
Yeah, like he's losing like Florida by 10%. Like that's
isn't he also like potentially losing Texas?
That wouldn't surprise me. But also, I've said this many times. People have been predicting the flipping of Texas for decades. Like,
that's true.
This election is going to be the one where what's it called? Oh, you got the plart ball dab. Dabbing must be part of the rules of plart ball.
So you get points.
All right. Okay. So let's see. This is a question about Constantinople, so this should be fun.
Oh, hell yes.
So I recently discovered that Constantinople had public bakeries, and that Athens had communal meals paid by the rich. Do you think that such city-based enterprises, cafes, bakeries, grocery stores, plumbing, can be run by a city as indie freelancers working on UBI or as a co-op?
Yeah.
Could we do a lot of these like really like these very socialist things, but just at like the city level?
Yeah, I think so.
it might be the only place where we can actually start with a lot of these things. I feel like a lot of these programs, kind of like social work in America started as like just a few random rich people trying to set those things up in like Chicago with like Jane Addams and stuff. Another gay icon from history. But like that sort of, but then she became more influential because it worked out so well that she was able to sort of start the field of social work in America. And I'm like, okay, that could work.
Damn, I want to become a mayor now. For a very long time, I wanted to like get into politics, but I feel like American politics is a lot more fun than Swedish politics because we don't really have like mayors, or like we don't really have as much executive power, and I feel like I want to have executive power. I should move to America and become a mayor.
As a European, every time you get that urge, that's why the government made city skylines to control you. Europeans have a in their blood a desire to rule over others and also to manage intricate systems, and so they design board games and city skylines in order to control your impulses. They're like, the Germans are getting ready to conquer Europe again. All right, we have to make another complicated board game to save them one more month.
That's why the Germans have so many like different farming simulators, so they can just be like, here, you can have the land to farm, just do it digitally.
This is their Lebensraum. It's just they need living room to grow virtual farms. Like all the German board games, all that stuff is just to keep Europeans under control, to keep them from colonizing. It's just like, oh, like what's it called? Oh, the Europeans want to colonize again? Quick, make Europa Universalis to control their urges.
We need to release a new DLC. Quick.
God.
No, but like this idea about like public eateries and stuff like that, they're very good in that sense. I feel like they were more popular in like antiquity because having them now, I feel like there would be a bit of there would be such a feedback from like the restaurant industry and like the service industry, talking about like you can't have a free cafe run by the city because that takes away business from local businesses, and I feel like that didn't really exist in antiquity in that sense. There wasn't really a main street full with Starbucks in like Byzantium.
But if there was,
if there was,
there reminds me of this kind of it's a tradition in Italy, but I've seen some coffee shops here do it. I've seen exactly one here do it, but I imagine that there's more. That rich people, when they go to buy coffee at the Italian coffee store, because all Italians drink coffee 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when they go and buy their espresso that they will drink over the course of 17 hours, rich people will pay for two coffees and buy one. And if somebody comes in and they don't have the money for coffee, then they can just have one if somebody bought it ahead of time, kind of thing. And there's a coffee shop here in London that, if it's still open, because this was like 3 years ago when I last went there, that they used to have a thing like that where you could buy a coffee to give to somebody who can't afford it if they come in later. That's like maybe like the remnants of that idea.
Yeah. I feel like these ideas could be implemented on city level today, but I feel like they would need a lot of like rework from antiquity, and just so they could fit into like the modern framework.
Yeah. All right, combining two alternate history scenarios I've asked about in the past. Suppose Germany and other Axis powers reacted to the Great Depression by going communist, and the US reacted by going fascist. Which way do you think the UK would go if it had the two powers trying to pull it into the opposite directions on either side fascism? The UK needed like very little provocation to go straight up fascist at that time. Like they had what's it called? They had what's that British person's name? The British black shirt guy.
Oswald Mosley?
Yeah. Like British fascism was way more established in that period than British socialism.
Yeah, unless the British unions and shit like that would have to like do a lot of legwork to kind of make up that. Although like talking about like Germany or like the Axis powers going like communist, again very close, but
yep.
America going fascist though, I think that would be a bit harder.
There's two things that I could see happening to do that. For one, I look forward to the Second Reich under Chancellor Rosa Luxemburg. We stand a literal queen. Queen Rosa the First of the socialist monarchy of Germany.
God.
But then
I feel like that situation would literally make the Kaiser explode. Mm-hmm. In his exile, which was.
The Netherlands doesn't exist. This world is getting better already. It just explodes and takes out the entire Netherlands with him.
Oh God.
But there was, and I plan on making a video about it someday, potentially this attempt at getting some business leaders together to lead a coup of the U.S. government. That was going to be a fascist coup of the U.S. government because they were so mad about the New Deal programs.
But yeah, like the UK would almost definitely go fascist in that scenario. I feel like I don't think even America would have to go to fascist for that to happen. I feel like Germany alone going communist would probably flip UK fascists.
Yeah.
Just as an anti-communist stance, I feel like. There wouldn't be you wouldn't have to change a lot in history at that time to make the Europe pressure cooker overcook even more.
There's a lot of countries, especially the Anglosphere, that the only thing that kept them from going fascist was Germany going fascist first and doing it too hard, too fast, so they couldn't really stick with it anymore.
I remember reading. I don't remember what historian who read it, but I remember someone said in a lecture or reading somewhere that if you took a person from like 1920 or 1925 or something like that, and you took them to the modern world and you told them about like there's like a major European power is going to turn like very, very authoritarian and start exterminating like racial minorities, they would have a hard time figuring out which one it would be.
Yeah,
because like the French also were very close to doing that. Like almost all European powers at the time were kind of they were having issues.
Okay. Oh, this is a fun one. Where we get to. I'm not gonna. You know what? A social democratic YouTuber did a stream with his patrons. They got talking about whistleblowers, and one of them, a lib, in brackets, a lib, said Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning should have gone to a sympathetic member of Congress rather than the press with their information. Response to that assertion?
Bad. Wrong. Incorrect.
It's a bad take, friend.
Chelsea Manning went to WikiLeaks, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can have all problems with WikiLeaks in itself, but it's still a sort of press. Snowden. Okay. Can I go for a short rant about this?
Yes, please.
Cool. So, Snowden did a critical mistake, I think, talking about the things that he made. I mean, unfortunately, the world is what it is today anyway, and none of it really mattered because everything's awful all the time. However, Snowden kind of released everything as one big batch to the press, right? And the press had a hard time redacting information that should be redacted. A lot of information got out that shouldn't have gotten out. That doesn't really matter for like public information anyway. Like like specific troop movements in northern Afghanistan. Like the public doesn't. That doesn't really matter. We're talking about like internal.
Yeah.
Internal surveillance on U.S. citizens. But what Chelsea Manning did was give it to WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks is kind of, they were very good at like slowly disseminating the information from, like they would process all the leaks and then they would disseminate the hottest takes that would generate press attention, because that's that's how we got like very specific leaks that hit hard, like the helicopter attack where they killed some Reuters journalists, for example. That was kind of snipped out by WikiLeaks to be like individually promoted.
I forgot that was what Chelsea Manning leaked.
Yeah, she leaked that. It took a while after the leak for that specific thing to come out, but that's part of her. That's part of her massive leak.
She's the only good troop.
Only good troop. I mean, people call her a traitor, but that's a good badge, I think, in this case. Going to a sympathetic member of Congress, I think, wouldn't have generated the press attention that this would have done anyway, and might have just ended up in their arrests anyway. Like Chelsea got arrested. Manning managed to escape to Russia by taking buying like 16 plane tickets to 8 different countries, and tricking all the press to going on the wrong plane. But I don't think it would have. The current situation is that these leaks didn't do much of anything. I mean, Snowden went to Russia, not that. They didn't change much. Like, the surveillance state is still pretty much around as much as it was before. The US is still doing war crimes. And I feel like if they had gone to a sympathetic congressperson instead, or senator, or whatever, it would have gotten like orders of magnitude less attention, or something like that. Because I don't see a congressperson.
Listen, if you inform Starfleet Command that Section 31 exists, they're going to say, thank you for warning us. And then you'll never hear about it again. Like, at least with the press, you know they have to respond.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. It's like... and because there's not enough intentional attention, but it would allow the... I'm sorry, I'm reading from chat here. But it would allow the politicians themselves to bring it up in Congress and the Senate. They could have... But if it could also not have, like they could have brought it up in the Senate floor and tried to declassify the materials, but that didn't really. I don't think that would have worked super well anyway. I don't think the helicopter attack would have ever gotten to light if they would have talked to a sympathetic member of Congress. In my opinion.
Yeah, you have to like. What sucks is that like when Chelsea Manning did her brave act of patriotism, that we should all. I'm so happy she's free and streaming video games on Twitch now.
I know.
But
what a wild thing. Like, remember like famous like whistleblowers or heroic people in history?
Mm-hmm.
How many of them end up with like, and then she became a gamer?
Hi, this is Deep Throat. I'm gonna get no scope here in Counter-Strike Go. So yeah, like so Chelsea. To remember, I wish that there was like a Ken Klippenstein type journalist who was active around that time, because that would have been who to go to. Because Ken Klippenstein is like a whistleblower focused journalist,
mm-hmm.
who's high on my list of people to watch out for to commit suicide by being shot in the back 6 times. Which, like, I seriously worry about, because he's probably doing some of the most important work in journalism right now. Because he, like, literally does, like, there was no I don't think there was Signal back when Chelsea did her thing either. Like, I think she, like, actually had to, like, mail them a USB key at one point or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, I just because WikiLeaks turned out to be a little bit silly. But yeah, the point stands. I do think that going through official channels would not have accomplished much, or at least had a lower chance of accomplishing. Like, you go to the media, you are forcing them to react.
Yeah,
while
especially by going to several different media outlets too.
Mm-hmm. The worst that could happen is like when a Pentagon Papers happened, where it comes out, everybody talks about it for a month, and then when people realize that everybody who is important belongs in prison, then it instantly disappears.
Yeah. Well, you know, at least the Panama Papers something actually happened from them. One of the journalists who broke the story got assassinated.
Oh my god.
So.
Really, for the Panama Papers?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
One of the assassinated via car bomb.
Lovely. I love.
We live in a society that definitely is free and definitely not under the dictatorship of the uber rich.
Yeah, holy fuck. I hate that so much.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you think that automation makes nationalizing / managing an industry easier? E.g., if automation makes agriculture or heavy industry only need a few workers, would cities be able to nationalize them and share the wealth / commodities among citizens while managing it under a city council?
Yeah, probably. It would depend on who owns those that automation, though.
Yeah.
Because right now it's the rich and big corporations.
A lot of aspects of capitalism are making it easier to just fucking take over. Like we're not like super far away from if we just marched into Amazon's headquarters and took it over, you have basically created a communist economy overnight. Like if you just nationalized Amazon, you could very quickly just like, okay, that's you just nationalized a huge section of the economy. So as they move towards more of these monopolies, yeah. And automation means you have fewer people and it's easier. Yeah, I would say. I love agriculture and heavy industry. It's like Stalin's like two favorite things.
Stalin is sitting in his grave being so angry that he wasn't able to like collectivize these industries in the age of automation.
Yeah, oh boy. Talk about a person who treated his citizens like they were machines. We're just gonna make.
I said that and thought like, he already thought it was automated. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he's like, we're gonna make more boots this year than last year. Do we need more boots? No, but we need to make more. The plan says so.
We need to make more. We have to turn the production dial up more.
This isn't capitalist at all.
This is how people work. I'm going to turn the production dial up more, increase quota.
Yeah, you just make more. You just make people make more stuff. That doesn't have.
How hard can it be?
Yeah, come on, get with the program, people. And then if anybody doesn't listen, it's the kulak's fault, and that's why it's cool to kill them or something. All right, last year I read an alternate history. We're in a big alternate history streak. Where the British have to evacuate India in the 1870s after an asteroid triggers a mini ice age. Oh, they have to evacuate to India. When the novel is set, 2025, the British are still the economic ruling class, but the native Indians have fully enfranchised and have MPs in Parliament, now based in Delhi. Do you think that's realistic, or do you think the British were really in that situation? They just set up some sort of apartheid system. Oh, yeah, definitely apartheid.
Yeah, 100%.
I think I know the novel you're talking about, but yeah, it would be like South Africa, for sure. Minority rule with colonization is common.
Yeah.
That feels like an alternate history writer who is a little sympathetic to the British Empire.
Why is that so common, though? Why do people like the British Empire so much?
I don't know.
I don't get it. It's an awful creation, and it wasn't even good at what it was trying to do.
Alternate history people seem to always like to live out the fantasies of what if the bad guys won? What if the bad guys that I like personally won?
Yeah. I'm wondering why people like these sorts of empires, though. Is it just because they like map go big?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a thing that says map go change.
Oh yeah.
So they like big empires. They like to see big things. That's why, what's it called? It's basically the reason that Paradox Interactive exists. They like big map. And they cannot lie.
Oh God. Someone must have made a remake about that. But it's about Victoria too or something.
Yeah. Turns out this author is also an Islamophobe. I am shocked.
Shocked, I'd say.
Shocked, all lowercase with a period.
Okay.
The other day, Trump tweeted a picture of himself wearing a mask and urged his supporters to do the same. Can Trump turn it around with token gestures? That's not a sarcastic question. I'm genuinely worried he might get some support back if he pretends to care on Twitter, even if in practice he's still botching it.
Personally, I think that he has fucked things up a bit too much. And I think that unless things in data starts going better in regards to COVID, I don't think it'll matter.
Yeah.
Because like deaths are going up, and like masks in all their glory, but like there are other things than masks that is not happening. Schools are still opening up, for example.
Yeah, he's still stuck on. It's actually some like backdoor way of trying to privatize education, but his insistence on school opening, like, think about that. That is September. Wait, Americans go back to school in August, so next month, kids are going to go back to school, and it's going to cause another. We're already in a big what's it called? We're already in a big like case, a big spike in the U.S. Now imagine another spike on top of that as all of these kids go back to school. Like, it's and that's like, only a few months. Like, it's going to take a long time to turn around the COVID situation right now in America. It's completely unhinged and out of control.
Yeah.
And the vaccine isn't expected to show up until like next summer at the earliest.
Do you? Oh shit! I remember reading. That's something that happened the last 2 weeks too. Then I'm gonna take this quick because I don't want to dig into much time for the questions. Like, remember how like a few weeks ago there was a bunch of news from many different corporations saying that like they're making like human trials on vaccines. They're seeing results. They're being trained in results. Like there's some things in Oxford that like they're making good results on the vaccine, right? Mm-hmm. Bunch of posts on that everywhere and big news, and at least what I saw. And then apparently I saw some investigative reporter just said that like a lot of just very high ups in a lot of biomedical corporations, they would buy a fuck ton of their stock. Then they would announce like incremental progress in COVID on the COVID vaccine. Their stock would like double overnight because of the news, and then they would sell for like a massive profit, and they would just repeat doing this for like a couple of weeks. So, and that's probably one of the reasons why everyone started tweeting about like why their company is making good progress on the vaccine, which is bonkers how that's legal.
Yeah. The only one that I believe is the Oxford study, because that was based on a publication in the Lancet, and they have all the data to show. Like, I actually saw, like, it showed the antibody response or antibody levels throughout different things, and it actually looks really promising because Oxford got on that shit early.
Yeah, but I just think it's like kind of inhuman how a lot of biomedical corporations decided to profit from this actual global health crisis that we're in and have been in for 7 months now.
Yeah, depending upon where you are. We we shut down here in like mid-March.
Yeah, I usually count it from like New Year's because that's when I started hearing about it. And then it spread and got worse.
Mm-hmm. And now here but apparently March was when this Oxford study started to really go down, and they're going into phase 2 of human trials, which is like when they're going to start testing it on a bigger population number, which if they get that done, then that means that it'll be about September of 2021 they'll have a vaccine that'll be widely distributed, which is... Although, like, here, I mean, knock on wood, we're about as close to being back to normal as one can get without a vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, Sweden is also like basically back to normal now, and we also, because of, I don't really know how, but the virus is pretty much contained. Oh, it's not pretty much contained, but like people are getting tested. Deaths are like almost zero again. So like even Sweden, who fucked it up so massively a few months ago, even we've started to contain it.
Yeah, because you have hospitals and you have a government. You have a government that does things.
Yeah.
Here we're at about, we had a little bit of a spike because we just moved into a new phase where we're opening up more stuff. So we had a little bit of a spike, but then it went back down. Like the city I'm in went from having 0 cases for weeks to 1 case to 6 cases to back to 0. So like we're getting into the situation, and this is the part that I'm finding interesting, which is that as the world, at least a good chunk of the world, starts to get this thing under control and starts to get back to a new situation, then, but like America is like this huge dumpster fire, but like America controls all media, then like we're in a situation where like everything we hear about is how COVID's getting worse and worse and worse and worse because Americans are just like having their own little nightmare, while the rest of the world is like right now we're like things are getting better, things are opening up, it's going to go well, my gym is opening up tomorrow, for example. But like in America, it's like they're reclosing, or what was the one I saw that was interesting? The mayor of Los Angeles is advocating both for people to go and eat at restaurants because now you can eat outside, and also to not go outside and not eat at restaurants in the same thing.
Amazing.
Yep, America's Chernobyl. I said it on March 1st. Yes. It stands.
You're entirely correct. I mean, this is America's Chernobyl.
Actually,
but it's worse because more people are dying.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it's actually not like Chernobyl because more people have died of COVID in America than Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Chernobyl killed like 90 people.
More people have died in America. More Americans have died from COVID than died during World War One.
Yep.
And probably World War II eventually.
Yeah, I think they're at about 130,000 cases right now. And yeah, it's not just America. Brazil and like South Africa and a few other countries are also getting hit pretty hard right now.
Yeah, India is also getting... India is like one of the worst areas right now. They're getting like thousands of dead, like 1,000 dead a day, which is not great.
Yeah, India was one I always was like worried was going to blow up in a really bad way because they also have not the greatest medical infrastructure. The other day, Trump tweeted a picture of himself wearing a mask. Oh, it's this one.
Yeah, okay. We're at that one.
Automation is not going to be feasible in the future. Where are we going to get energy from when we're all out of fossil fuels? My answer is the one place where capitalism has not been able to corrupt. Space! I.e. the sun.
Yeah.
The sun, the wind, the molten core of the planet.
Yeah, we're going to have plenty of energy sources. We just need to use them properly.
Thorium tetrafluoride. Wouldn't you love it if a mineral that is named after Thor becomes one of our, like, things? Becomes a thing, like, we're using Thor power. There's another one, too. What's it called? Hydrogen isotopes. Helium. What's it called? With fusion reactors. Those will happen sometime. That's the last thing we need France to do. Once France figures out fusion power, then we have progressed past the need for France. So
that's the only reason we keep them around.
France is the world's nuclear power plant, and they're trying to figure out. They're the only country that's heavily investing in fusion power, and once they get it, then France, we're done. We have solved France, France is finished.
Good job, France.
It's the only good thing France is doing now. Is just that
when they fix fusion power, that's when we will forgive them for all of the Napoleonic Wars.
Yep. They will come off of the list of countries you're allowed to make fun of.
Then we have to make fun of the Belgians or something.
I mean, easy peasy.
I mean, we already are, but...
yeah, because you can't... What's it called? They would have to unfuck up the DRC, which is going to take a lot of work.
It's going to take a long time.
Okay, so yeah, there's plenty. There's so much energy that we have access to. Fossil fuel is only sticking around because of the J curve, where it's what's it called? It's too expensive to transition off of it for corporations to still make growing profits every quarter. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
Some Irish travelers showed up in my town recently. I don't like the way they've treated their horses, i.e. they've tied up along the main town and rode into town. But I feel like I shouldn't object to it because horses are kind of part of their way of life. Thoughts? First of all, this is England. So apparently people just ride horses instead of cars in the UK, which is okay. I understand. It is
I think it's specifically like talking about like travelers and like Romani groups, like travelers.
Oh.
Yeah, because in the UK, and I learned this recently too, in the UK and Ireland, I'm guessing, travelers is a common term for Romani.
They tie up their horses? That's bad?
I mean, maybe it's because of the part of the going into the main road area. I don't fully get it. They're a separate ethnic group, but they're not Romani. Okay, well, I was wrong.
Thor, the god of molten salt. Yep, exactly. Man, I could talk about lifter reactors all day long. They're like the #1 technology that we need to be getting into like right now, but we're not. But yeah, so sorry. Yeah. So this is bad for horses because they've been, i.e., they've tied up. Oh, does this mean like that they're blocking traffic?
I don't know. My response to this is going to be I don't know. I don't know enough about horses, and I don't know enough about ethnic minorities and their treatment of horses to answer this question.
Horses did nothing wrong. I am pro horse. Wait, no,
I am also pro horse.
Horses don't exist. Oh, thank you for the $5, Matt Lipton. At Mia, I saw a great war video that said that Sweden's social safety net was made as a response to the Russian Revolution. How accurate is that?
100%. A large part of like the Swedish welfare system was made like, oh shit, they're gonna have a revolution unless we give them something. So they started giving Folkhemmet, like the People's Home, as a sort of massive concession to the left. It's and you can argue that is the best way to do it. You can argue that that's like an inefficient way to do it. I've met a lot of communists, like hardcore communists, that are very angry at the Swedish welfare system for kind of bribing the Swedish left and like disincentivizing them from full-on revolution. And but it was massive concessions to the left so that they wouldn't do actual revolution. Sweden at the time was also having some like big strikes, big like large communist movements. So there was like an actual risk for a revolution. So this was one of the ways that they could like kind of suppress that, because the previous attempts of suppressing it, as in like shooting striking workers and protesters, turns out that doesn't actually work that well. It just creates more protests. Hint, hint, America.
Yeah.
So Sweden stopped doing that and started giving the left whatever the fuck they wanted. So that's when government bread started happening, and massive buildings of apartments and big social safety net, free healthcare, all those things. They just like give, and apparently it turned out to be an also like very well sustaining economy and a pretty good country.
And Swedes are sometimes like one of the best off countries on earth, I think, right now. Sweden is often pointed to as like a country for like, hey, look, this is a country that figured its shit out. Why can't we do this?
Yeah. Oh, it took a while though. Like it did a lot of eugenics along the way.
Yeah.
But the end result is decent. Yeah.
All right. The next question is, have you heard of this person? So she's a congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, small name, but yeah, I've read in some small publication. Yeah.
Well, first, Zane Rossler, thank you for the $5 super chat. What type of legacy does Tommy Douglas have in Canada? Well, he was voted the greatest Canadian, and Tommy Douglas is referred to in pretty reverent tones here. The fact that he was a eugenicist just kind of gets swept under the rug. But Tommy Douglas, by the way, is the person who brought public health care to Canada. We make a big deal about him. He also founded what would become the New Democrats, which is our Social Democratic Party. So that's like the majority of it. Most people will know Tommy Douglas brought health care and that he was voted the greatest Canadian. That's about the extent, though, unless you know more history. Okay, so this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez character, whomst is new to the scene. Some people have been accusing her of getting more liberal and centrist as of late.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is happening?
I feel like getting into Congress will moderate you a little bit in the search of pragmatism. but I still feel like she still is like one of the more progressive people like in Congress. So, and I don't think she's changed much of anything. I just feel that she's become like more pragmatic of what she can do in her situation, you know. But I haven't really seen her compromise that much on some things, like as far as I know, like in terms of healthcare, environmental programs, like welfare issues. Like I haven't seen her really like change much on those things.
Yeah, when people say that she's getting more centrist and stuff like that, it has with she had a few missteps during her like first year in Congress that I criticized her for at the time too. Like she kind of distanced herself from Ilhan Omar over Tropesgate. She also sort of took like a lukewarm criticism of Venezuela, just like Bernie Sanders did. But she got more shit for it because she's a WAMS.
And also, like American politicians, if American politicians start like defending Venezuela outright, they're not gonna be politicians for long.
Yeah.
Like I get what people are meaning here, but at the same time, like you don't literally want right wing like military mobs to call for your like death because you're a traitor. Like I see what you like. I get the criticism, but like still.
Yeah, the thing is, like, again, maybe it's just because I've been, in the leftism game for way too long, but I'm the kind of person who thinks, man, if I were to tell myself 10 years ago that there was going to be a member of Congress who was also a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, and that leftists were going to complain about her because she because she, first of all, she's younger than me, and took some missteps in learning her, like, kind of how to hone a political message so that she maintains mainstream appeal, but at the same time pushes for like she's an actual socialist, like pushing for like actual socialist stuff. The amount of work that she has to do to be a actual socialist in American government, a country where not super duper long ago being a socialist was literally a opportunity, would literally lead to your life being destroyed. Say like I don't know, I feel like she is already like in a very, very tough situation, and she handled it better than a lot of people would. And I think that if you know about her credits and you know about the stuff she says, that she is far to the left of a lot of people criticizing her. So
100%.
Yeah, I don't just say that because I have a show on Means TV.
And also, like, I've seen some people also criticize AOC because she's, like, appealing to the Instagram mom crowd, which is, like, that's good.
Yeah. Instagram moms vote.
That's a good thing.
If we can turn Instagram moms into socialists, that is a good thing.
Yes, we need to radicalize soccer moms. They are an extremely powerful demographic.
Apparently it's
already
happening.
That's not a joke, by the way. That's entirely fully serious.
Robert Evans has been talking about his experiences in Portland, and apparently, like, there's a lot of moms who have now joined the, like, let's burn down the federal building type crowd. And so now, like, he says, like, I'm seeing, like, moms and black bloc people smashing windows, and it's like, God bless.
Yes.
God bless those moms.
I mean, you could argue, historically, that's also been the case. Like, the French Revolution could arguably have been kickstarted by angry moms wanting food.
Never, what's it called? Never underestimate the power of angry moms.
They have power.
Do you think that eventually the economy will evolve in a way that postgraduate education will become mandatory for people to do? So do we have to go to grad school to... is there a point in time when grad school will become necessary? I think that there's going to be a point where, like... if like we're like on like a super automated economy, that like if you want to work, you do have to have at least a master's degree in something, because the only jobs left are like hyper specialists. But that's not mandatory, because in such a future, most people wouldn't have to work.
Yeah, maybe. This is like Star Trek future we're talking about here.
The thing is, not even Star Trek future. It's the technology we have today, just, widely applied. But
yeah, but the Star Trek model.
Yeah. for sure. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can squeeze some more questions in here.
Yeah,
Um,
let's be quick.
You know those stories about protesters trying to shine lasers in the eyes of cops? Yes, because it's cool.
Yes.
And how that could like maybe blind them. Do you think protesters have any obligation to try not to be excessively violent when they're fighting riot cops? Obviously, the cops feel no such obligation. You answered your own question with the last little bit there.
Yeah.
You first, cops. Cops
Yeah,
started
like-
are the ones that started the violence.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, like cops also have like pretty intense like eye protection that does like diffuse a lot of the like danger. It's those like laser pointer things. They can damage your eyes, but it has to be like first of all pretty direct in your eyes, and also basically completely unshielded. And a lot of riot cops, they have whole very intense tons of protection. Like they're gonna be fine, and also like that's. I hate to be the like they've created their own job title of being like the violent enforcers of the law. They have to deal with the fact that there's going to be violence in it.
Yeah. Plus the lasers that could like
there's an easy solution. They can just quit.
Yeah. The lasers that could cause like actual eye damage at such a distance are like those green ones that can pop balloons, and they are very expensive, and not many people have them. But like the one that you use to make your cat go crazy. That's not going to blind people, unless you shine it directly into their eyes at a pretty close distance. All right.
And if you're that close to a cop, you're not going to bother like pointing them in the eyes with a little laser pointer.
Yeah. Remember the other day I said historians aren't sure if the Romans had a secret police or not because, for obvious reasons, ancient writers were reluctant to honestly write about the subject. Suppose the U.S. is destroyed by some apocalyptic cataclysm. Do you think future historians will have trouble figuring out if ICE is a secret police for the same reason? ICE.
I don't think they will have trouble figuring out the secret police. I think they will be pretty definitive to say that the U.S. has like a variety of secret police forces.
Yeah, they'll say that the United States carried a whole bunch of secret polices. One called ICE, one called CIA, one called NSA, one called Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah. Also, a lot of the federal troops in the Portland right now, they're apparently just mercenaries for what used to be called Blackwater.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way. Like future historians are gonna be pretty aware of what's going on, unless they're gonna be America fetishists in the same way that some people fetishize Rome, I guess.
Can you imagine? Oh man, America's going to be known as like one of the most they're going to take the term totalitarian to its absolute utmost because they're the ones that mastered propaganda to completely control their people while running a brutal, violent empire across the planet. Yeah. No, Stalin could not even dream such a strongly propagandized and controlled people. Whenever the Romans took over overseas territories, i.e. like when they conquered Sardinia to increase their grain supply, all they ever did was just recreate the economic model they had in Italy, i.e. mass slave estates owned by aristocratic families. In other places, why didn't it occur to them to create something like stock companies to manage resource extraction from foreign lands, i.e. like European powers when they colonized the New World?
The West Carthago Company. I love this. Oh my god.
Why didn't Rome just invent capitalism on its own?
I mean, there were models that kind of use similar kind of mechanics here, but the Romans did like they structured their society in the way that they felt was most like efficient for them. So like, I'm sure that people considered this kind of like stock option thing, but I don't think it would have been as practical as the more like proto-feudal model.
Yeah, I do think that to make the joint stock company work, you kind of have to have like some other ideas develop as well. Like, One of the things that I think caused joint stock companies to become more normal was things like the widespread use of manufactuaries, which was like where they were already condensing creation of things, but also so like owning land wasn't necessarily the way you became rich anymore. But also, I'm trying to think what else was there. I think guilds also played a role in sort of
Yeah.
creating something like this. So there's like a lot of stuff that developed in the meantime between the Roman times and what would be and like the early modern period that sort of led to the ideas that would create something like a joint stock company. Alrighty, I just realized that it is 2:02.
It is.
So we need to do stuff. We need to do the rest of our day because I have a video to edit and you've got all sorts of stuff to do. You've got a
so
2.5 hour video to make, not 2.5 hours.
I have so much work.
Yeah. So before
I
we
need prayers and like time.
send prayers and pictures of cute kittens to @PotatoPolitics.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell everybody where they can consume this 2.5 hour video when it comes out?
You can consume it when it comes out on Friday on youtube.com/c/Mia Mulder, or I'll announce it on twitter.com/PotatoPolitics, and it'll be there, and it'll be good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be good. It'll be 8 hours long. Someone's asking if I work outside of YouTube. No, YouTube is my entire job, which is it's still so much work. Don't become a YouTuber. It's just so much work.
So much work for such little money.
Oh God.
So everybody, I'm just going to start rating IzzyBear713 in Twitch, also a fun creator. I'll be back here tomorrow night for everybody. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.
Bye.